I'm John Letchford, I'm a CSI Operations Manager, and I've been working for the police for 24 years. The role of a CSI predominantly involves the attendance at crime scenes. So we deal with the whole spectrum of different crime types, so from volume crime, vehicle crime, burglaries, all the way up through arsons, murders, serious and suspicious deaths, those kinds of things. So on a given day for a CSI, we would receive our work from the command and control system, Storm, and then we'd give each of our CSI team a number of jobs to go out to. So they would make contact with the victims of those crimes and they would go and process those crime scenes. So that's the photography, DNA recovery, fingerprinting, and then of course reporting on that scene, what they found, what their interpretation of that evidence was. So there's a few cases that spring to mind as being ones that I'll reflect on for a long time. One case in particular was a major crime. Originally it was reported to us as a sudden death, so we went to take photographs at that scene. When we started to assess that scene, it didn't look, didn't present the way that we would expect it to. There were some anomalies that we were quite concerned by, and a thorough assessment of that scene led us to hypothesise that actually this was a murder scene. And sadly, even worse than that, there was also evidence of sexual offence as well. We recovered the body and a forensic post-mortem examination was undertaken. From that post-mortem examination we identified some pertinent forensic evidence, and within 24 hours they were able to profile that DNA and compare it against the National DNA database and introduce a suspect name for that investigation. It was very much a forensic-led investigation, and that name that we introduced to the incident room wasn't even amongst the intelligence that we'd got at that point, so it was a really critical breakthrough to that investigation, and it resulted in an arrest of that individual within hours after that result came through. I think probably the reason that one is particularly pertinent for me is partly because of the value that the forensic evidence added. The role itself, the CSI role, I guess what it does is you interact with people in the darkest moments of their life sometimes, and that's quite a challenging thing. Ultimately makes you very grateful that you're not in those situations, but also it is a privilege to try and help people through those difficult spells that they're experiencing, and to try and maybe bring justice for them or their families. So it definitely makes me see life differently. What I've discovered recently as a line manager is that I've got a really high percentage of people with dyslexia who operate in the CSI role. And what's wonderful about that here is that in this organisation we don't see that as a blocker, we actually see that as an advantage, and we harness those skills that come with a different way of thinking, and it's quite nice to be operating in that environment.